Good evening, everyone. This is the Wednesday Zoom class. Tonight's class will be entitled Liar, Liar, Cants on Fire, which is a little comic reference to the Matrix of Mendacity in which we live in through no fault of our own. We were born into the theatrical show, which is presented to us um, full spectrum dominance through a medium. The medium is the message, and it's presented to us by professionally trained and employed crisis actors. The actors appear in the operations of events, whether it's terrorism or a war or an accident or a weather event. And then it's reported to us typically by a professional news reader or news presenter or a Hollywood trained influencer or a political person who is presented to us as some authority figure in the government. And this is how they stir the pot. The pot is the cooking of the people in the pot, the citizens of the world. And so we have prepared for you today um, photographs, still images, as well as some video clips and some music to sort of set the table and to help the discussion that will follow. So, with no further ado, Josh, my co-host, please cue up the song by the Castaways, which was released in 1965. It's entitled "Liar, Liar." Go ahead, Josh.
All right, let's go.
That was a nostalgia song for me.
It was a
It
good
was
song.
released. This song was released in summer of 1965. I don't know if everyone remembers where they were then. Josh doesn't, and Chattahoochee doesn't. But I was just getting ready to enter the newspaper business. I did not have a paper out yet, but I was motivated to get one. So my mother told me after I gave her the bad news, I said I went up and talked to the district advisor to get a paper out, and he said I was the 28th person on a waiting list. And I said, oh, I'll be 50 years old by the time I get a paper out. So my mother suggested that I just go to the paper stop every day and help the other boys fold the paper and make sure I was seen by the district attorney when he came by to bring the headline stories, and so that he saw how reliable and dependable I was. And turns out my mother was a genius because indeed that is the only reason I got route. Because after about 6 months of doing that, he asked me, he said he had a route coming available. It wasn't at this stop, it was about 2 miles up the road, up a really steep hill. It's not really in your neighborhood, but would you be interested? I said, yes, I would. I said, but you told me I was 28th on the list. And he said, yeah, but I don't know any of the other 27 people. You're the only person on the list that actually shows up. So I said, so what are you saying? He goes, you can just go to you're in first place. So I went back to my mother and I said, well, I got her out because I leapfrogged over 27 people who failed to appear. Anyway, this song came out when I started that process. And liar, liar, pants on fire. Your nose is as long as a telephone wire. Before we had wireless, we had telephone poles with wires.
Here, I've got the
And
lyrics if you want me to pull them up.
yeah, yeah, go ahead. I think why don't you read the lyrics for us, Josh? Because I think it's instructive to kick off tonight's show.
Okay. Trying to figure out how to do this while it was going, but I just figured it out. So the song lyrics go, liar, liar, pants on fire. Your nose is longer than a telephone wire. Ask me, baby, why I'm sad. You've been out all night. Know you've been had. Don't tell me different. No, it's a lie. Come kill me, honey. See how I cry. Why must you hurt me? Do what you do. Listen here, girl. Can't you see I love you? Make a little effort. Try to be true. I'll be happy, not so blue. Liar, liar, pants on fire. Your nose is longer than a telephone wire. If you keep telling me those lies, still going out with those other guys, there'll come a day we'll all be gone. Take my advice. It won't be long. When that day comes, won't be mad, be free of you, but I'll still be sad. In spite of your cheating, still love you so. I'll be unhappy if I let you go. Liar, liar, pants on fire. Your nose is longer than a telephone wire.
Yeah. Well, that sums up kind of the society in which we live. There's a whole lot of lying going on, and a whole lot of cheating going on in our presented Matrix of Mendacity. So let's see, where do we go next? Let's just see, where does everybody think? Michael, why don't you comment? What's on your mind? What are your thoughts about the topic of the day?
Lies. Well, we know that the government lies to us, the media lies to us, the pastors lie to us. Most people lie, and have integrity in this day and age is highly unusual. I try to do that. I've been accused of accusing people wrongly. I was accusing quite truthfully. I was put in a pit, just like Joseph, and they're trying to tell me, "Oh, I'll be king someday under Pharaoh. Be patient." And that was like 10 years ago. They got a woman to screw me, and they scammed me of all my money. This is a church I used to belong in, but it got me out of the church, which was a good thing. I thought that was the reason they did it was to benefit me to get me out of Christianity, which I know is basically in the hell realm. The heaven is hell, torture forever and ever. I'm still in the natural realm. I'm not there. I learned of the worldly realm, of the heaven realm, from being in an institution, as you may have guessed. So you get the picture.
Okay.
I try to have integrity, but the whole world is full of liars, especially in authority and people in position to influence people. The whole world is built on lies. You know that.
Okay. All right. So I got a big liar behind me here. This is Earl Warren. He's from my zip code. He was an assistant district attorney, ADA in Alameda County before I was born, and he was undoubtedly putting poor people into the jail. It's kind of what they do there at the county sheriff's office and the court. Anyway, he was not a judge at that time. He was just a young man learning about criminal prosecutions. He was an ADA, Assistant District Attorney, Alameda County, which my county was a military county, Port of Oakland, the Alameda Naval Air Base, the Oakland Army Base, Lawrence Livermore Weapons Laboratory was built during that time, the time when Earl Warren here went off to become the governor of the state of California. And he became eventually a chief justice of the Superior Court in Washington, D.C. His name is associated with the Warren Commission, which was sort of a whitewash of the John Kennedy assassination. This is the person's name right there. He personally didn't take much of a role in the dirty work of the Warren Commission. He only asked a question about the names of the nude dancing at the Carousel Club. He wanted to know the names of the dances that the ladies danced to. He was not interested in any other element of the case, just the dance names. So I wouldn't say, he was very important, but his name is on the report. All right, Jennifer, what are your thoughts regarding the kickoff to tonight's show?
Well, it seems to me that a big problem is not just that we've got all these liars, but we have so many people who are comfortable with the lies, who want to actually go along with the lies, from all the patsies that are selected for the crimes and the assassinations and so forth, to the moon landings, to the big, what you call the foundational lies, like the Manson family stuff, to the rock stars that are not who they are and so forth. So in a way, that's more the problem, because if people would insist on the truth, maybe we could get somewhere. But people are quite comfortable with their lies. Well, speaking of, right, there you have Billy Shears, who was brought in 1968 for Sergeant Pepper's after the original Paul McCartney was assassinated or died in one form or another, and so they
Reassigned.
He was
reassigned to a cemetery, perhaps. I don't know.
Yes, and so they after that they had they never went on tour again. So it was all studio recordings, and that way they could. And you see, by having all the Beatles look differently, it wouldn't be so obvious that Paul looked differently. So they've got the mustaches and the glasses and the costumes, and it worked perfectly. I mean, it was a huge success in terms of a substitute rock star who took on the name and identity of the real original rock star. But since all the music was written by somebody else anyway, and they were a Tavistock creation, it really
it's like a performance art.
Yeah, one of the things you said, Juxtaposition, about California is you said California is real, but there are layers of fake in California, something like that. And I think you could say that about the whole society, really. But
it's woven into the fabric. It's the Matrix, like it's like a carpet. It's woven into the carpet.
Mesh. What you're looking for? Mesh.
Yeah, it's a mesh that's hard to separate the truth from the lie. Because they're woven together. Because there's real people in fake events, and then there's real people in real events, and then there's real earthquakes, and then there could be manufactured earthquakes, and there's real rainstorms. But in California, starting around COVID, they deleted the concept of a rainstorm, and they substituted in atmospheric river. So we no longer have rainstorms in California. We do have atmospheric rivers because the television meteorologists say so. And whatever they say, must be true, even if it's a liar, pants on fire story.
What's an atmospheric river? I mean,
I don't know. It's like a really severe rainstorm.
We have frost quakes now. I've asked everybody I know, and nobody can tell me what a frost. And basically, if you hear like a pop or an explosion, it's probably nothing to worry about.
It's a tree. It's a tree exploding. That's the story.
Well, it's something about
we have new vocabulary
ice or something. Ice pop. It like expands, and then the ice underground pops, and it makes an explosion. I don't know.
All right, let's go to Rose because she can explain if there's any lying going on in Canada. Oh. You got any lying going on up there?
Oh boy,
in Canada, Rose?
Yes. When I was in university, my economics professor, Macro, I think, he said, when a politician is lying is when his lips are moving, he's lying. And that has always stuck with me.
It's true.
But there's a lot of lying there.
All of them.
When COVID happened, I was not working. So that was 5 years ago, 6 years ago. And
yes.
A lot of things stopped, and I ended up looking at a lot of data on the FDA site, the CDC site, as well as the Canadian site. The deaths, just because I wanted to find out for myself. And as I was searching, um, I I think it was the World Health Organization site. The definition of pandemic had changed.
Oh, okay. What did it become?
I can't remember. All I know is they changed it from what it was before, let's say 10 years ago. And just recently, before the pandemic, they changed it to suit the particular situation.
I
I see.
remember that. I remember
You
that.
It's
remember?
happened with other
Yeah,
words
but I
too.
remember they did change it. I can't give you the specifics, but that rings a bell with me.
It's happened
Yeah,
with multiple words.
Mhm.
right.
Bill Clinton, I thought, introduced that concept, but I could be wrong. When Bill Clinton was asked on an interview, did he have sex with Monica Lewinsky? He answered, it
No.
depends on what your definition of is.
Yeah.
Huh? I beg your pardon?
Yeah.
So that's actually interesting. I'm glad we brought that up, actually.
Is a verb. To be? To be or not to be? That is the question. Apparently, Bill has a different definition for the verb to be.
That just
Is
means that
you
they're
or
living
is
in
you
a
not?
completely different reality. Like that's what I read that as. They're just living in a completely different reality, and that's the first clue.
There are different realities.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, Chattahoochee, what about you? You had to graduate from high school on a Zoom class
Oh, boy.
wearing a face diaper. So
Yeah.
you tell me about lying or truth.
Yeah, so I was class of 2020. I definitely know about lies, but I saw your Substack post and it had Joe Rogan all over it. So definitely he's a big liar and a lot of people got started off of him and still watch him. So
Yeah, he's the leader of the truther movement. You always
yeah.
have a big liar lead the truth
Ooh.
movement. That's the key. I got another picture of, I mean, I'm going to lambaste Joe Rogan tonight for sure. He
Well,
deserves
good.
to be lambasted. He deserves to be humiliated for the fraud that he is. But, you know, he's on top of a big list of frauds, but he is a really popular fraud. He's very popular. So he deserves more humiliation than your typical person. But I mean, there's no shortage of it, right? I mean, here's Klaus Schwab. He certainly
That's
deserves
wrong, is it?
he deserves to be humiliated, of course. Um, but there are just, I mean, we'd be here for months or years talking about liars, right? Um, but I have a favorite one that I'll put up here. One, I have met quite a few of the people that I'm going to lambaste. I have not met Joe Rogan, have not. So I want to make that clear. But I have met this person that I'm going to show you right now. If I can just zero in on him. Let's see, where are you? Where are you? He was here and then he's gone.
Really Schwab.
How about we mention Alex Jones too?
Here he is.
True.
CIA asset.
Richard Gage. He's a pathological liar. Richard Gage. He's a pathological liar. Remember the truth of 9/11? He was the leader of the architects and engineer truther movement for 9/11. Fraud. He was going to get to the bottom of that, you know, let us know what happened. I met him. I spent an unpleasant 90 minutes with him. It was my intention to spend less than 90 seconds with him. That was my goal. And I ended up spending about 70 of the 90 minutes with him, mainly threatening him to break his nose and get him the hell away from me because he would follow me around like a lost puppy, except he's not cute. He's a very odious person. He's an odious person. He's an odious person. He stinks, and he is a rotten human being. Anyway, he was the leader of the Truther movement. People mailed him money. People mailed him money. What a joke! Did he ever discover anything? No. And eventually, you know, he was shunted aside. You know, he works for the Department of Energy essentially. He goes wherever the Department of Energy sends him, which would be sort of a clue that the Department of Energy was involved with the destruction of the 9/11 buildings, right? I mean, this creep works for Department of Energy and he babysits scientists at the Department of Energy. that would indicate that the Department of Energy, which is in the weapons research business, that they would know how to blow up a bunch of buildings and release asbestos matriculates into the sky, which the media would never report. The media never reported that. You see this brown smoke over his bald head? You see that? That's mostly asbestos. And yes, it's also the photocopy machines, it's the sheetrock on the walls, it's the carpets, but there is an enormous concentration of matriculates from Libby, Montana that's in this dust. And I do recommend you never breathe that. Don't breathe that. Just like the rescue dogs that were sent in there, they all died within 6 months because this triggers water in your lungs, and your lungs will fill up with water, and you'll have pneumonia-like symptoms and on an oxygen tank. So this guy here, he's a liar. He's a bald-faced liar. He's a bald-headed, bald-faced liar. Richard Gage. Okay, you heard it here. I spent 90 minutes with him. I don't recommend you send this guy any money at all. He's a criminal. He really is. All right, so let's see, Josh. What are your thoughts on tonight's theme?
Yeah, I mean, the whole thing about truth and lies is that people have to understand quite literal, in like the most literal sense, that lies are slavery, they're chains. So the lies, you get lost in them. That's one of the things that Shakespeare said, a tangled web we weave when we practice to deceive. And it's because once you start lying, it starts simple at first, but then you have to start creating lies to cover up other lies. And then if other people get drug into the mix, everybody has to get their story straight. And those actually become chains that enslave you. And so that's why the truth, makes you free, is because of that. And you can look at it from the inverse, and that the truth is that which makes you free. So whatever opens your eyes so that you can't see things the same way again, and you can't, you're not confined to that world of Plato's cave, I guess you could say, then that's leading you towards the path of truth, as long as you don't fool and lie to yourself. That's really the ultimate trick, is to have you lie to yourself. And about, as I think it was Jennifer, you said today, it seems like so many people are comfortable with it. It's because those people are pretty much have made a habit and are now comfortable with lying to themselves. They're deluding themselves.
Dear conscience.
Absolutely. And so that is pretty much the basis of it all. And that has happened. You look back at older interviews and stuff, you start to notice things. I think in the past probably 30 to 50 years, people have been just trained over time to lie to themselves. And juxtaposition, what you said, whatever the definition of is that was one of the signs.
Right.
Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain.
I compare it to living room furniture, the lies, the architecture in people's minds. It's as though people have everything arranged in their head, and they don't want to be told that, well, you really need to move that couch or move this lamp over to this side, or maybe you need to take out that chair, because everything then has to be rearranged.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how people have constructs in their mind. It's a certain type of architecture. And so that's why they want to keep up the lies, because it keeps together that architecture.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. We have, on a lighter note, the NFL, which stands for not for long. The NFL is going to be hosting their Super Bowl out here in the San Francisco Bay Area. Technically, it's in Mountain View. Which is over by Moffett Air Base, which is a military base that services the United States Army, the United States Navy, Google Corporation, the Air Force, and the Coast Guard all flies in and out of Moffett Air Base. It's a corporate contractor airport. There's private jets that fly in there, as well as military planes. and it's beside next door to the Levi, what they call Levi Stadiums, which is a corporate sponsor, Levi's. And it has a Masonic address, 4900 Marie di Bartola Avenue, I guess. So that's number 13. It's a 13, right? Everything to do with the Super Bowl is signs and symbols of our liar, liar, pants on fire world, our Matrix of Mendacity. Every single Super Bowl. This will be number 60. This will be the 60th Super Bowl this month in 2 weeks. In February, we're going to have the Super Bowl, number 60. And what is 6 plus 0? It's 6. What's that? 33. Highest level of the Masonic order pyramid is going to be this year's Super Bowl, number 33, at a 4900 address, number 13, which means unity amongst Masons or temple worshipers within the cult. They have a number that symbolizes their unity. You know, people that wear black robes and are temple worshipers, they refer to themselves as temple worshipers, believers. They believe in eternity. They believe in transhumanity. They believe, they have a dogma. They have a repetitive slogan that they chant, that they have chants that they chant to each other. And they have an obelisk chain of command that they worship. They do. They worship their status within the cult. They always want to move up, of course, to that mystical number 33 or above status. And so that's coming. And of course, the two teams, which are going to be gladiator teams, will be the Seattle Seahawks of a town that's really been turned into a ghetto, which is Seattle. It's dead as a doornail. It's a ghost town. By the way, so is San Francisco. It's more or less a ghost town also, which is why you can't have the Super Bowl in San Francisco, because then it would be embarrassing and the camera would have to, just stay local on the field. And they're going to have it, further down Highway 101 near Stanford University. It's going to be played at Levi Stadium at a 13 address. The quarterbacks are have have Masonic numbers also. We have Sam Darnold. He is the quarterback of the Seattle. We used to call them the Sea Dogs. When I was an Oakland Raider fan, we called them Sea Dogs. Anyway, Seahawks. And Sam Darnold, his number is 3, when 3 means unity. The New England Patriots quarterback, his name is Drake May, and his number is 10. So, that's a 1, and 1 is a superior number in the Masonic order. But when you combine the two quarterbacks, it sort of doesn't even make any difference who wins or loses the game. It doesn't matter, because if you take Sam Darnold's number 3 and you add it to his opponent, Drake May's number, you have 13, right? You have 13. So together they make 13, unity amongst Masons. So it really hardly even matters, which team wins, because they're all part of the show, right? And they want us to watch the show. You should know the last time that the New England Patriots played the Seattle Seahawks in a Super Bowl, it was it was in 2015. So it will be 11 years ago. They actually played. They played in New Jersey, East Rutherford, New Jersey. They played there. And I believe that's the MetLife Stadium, life insurance stadium. And they played there. And that was where Seattle defeated the New England. I scratched that. The New England Patriots won the game. Seattle should have won the game. They should have won the game. It was fixed. They fixed it on the last play of the game. Seattle was 4 points behind, but they had the ball at the 6-inch to go line with, like 10 seconds left in the game. And they're not 10, I think it's 30 seconds left. And they're on the half-foot line. All they have to go is 6 inches. They're at first down. They have 4 chances to go 6 inches. They have 4 chances. But so what does the quarterback at that time was Russell Wilson, whose number was number 3, same number as Sam Darnold. What does he do with Pete Carroll as his coach? Pete Carroll of USC and all the felony rape convictions of his, or felony arrests of his players, which would include Mark Sanchez, who's in a boatload of felony trouble himself, stabbing a man in Indiana. Anyway, Pete Carroll called a pass. There isn't a single high school or Pop Warner coach in America that would pass the ball when you're 6 inches from the goal line and you have 4 opportunities to run the ball 6 inches and you pass the ball directly into the opponent's hands, which then lights out, game over, you lose. And then everybody praises Tom Brady, who was the quarterback at the time. He's the quarterback for the New England Patriots, saying what a wonderful quarterback is. He's sitting on the bench. He's not part of this. This is the New England defense that wins the game. The quarterback is not involved. He's over there watching. He's a spectator. And I'll never forget, Tom Brady is the best quarterback we've ever had in the history of football. But he didn't play. The winning play he's not involved with. So anyway, this is the disconnect between reality and the media telling you, that Tom Brady won the game when the game was rigged. Obviously, every high school coach would know that. And everybody knows it's rigged except the announcers. They have to tell you to unsee what you just saw. You need to unsee it. So anyway, that was in 2015. And then since then, we had Mina Keems was born. Mina Keems is a little Korean girl whose father is a United States Air Force pilot and married a Korean woman, produced Mina Kimes. That's how it's pronounced. She goes to Yale University and she gets a job at Disney ESPN. She has her own segment. She has her own 30-minute show on ESPN. 39 years old. And she went to Yale. She never played football. She knows nothing about football at all. And she knows less about doping. Does she know what drugs the players are on? No. Well, I mean, it's kind of important. You really should know. I mean, you can't play football without drugs. It's impossible. And apparently you can't play a Super Bowl without rigging the event. Okay? So she doesn't know anything about professional gambling. She doesn't know anything about casinos. She doesn't know anything about steroids. She doesn't know anything about amphetamines. She doesn't know anything about cortisone. And she doesn't know anything about rigging a Super Bowl. But she goes out and gets a tattoo because that in 2015, that was Super Bowl number 50, that was Super Bowl number 48. Okay. And 48, Super Bowl 48 was 12, which is 33-33. And she gets tattooed. And back then, she's only 28 years old or something. And she gets branded like Russell Brand, an unfunny comedian who now is doing political commentary, has a 33 tattooed on his arm. So does Mina Kime. And Mina Kime, she rooted for the Seattle Seahawks, which lost that game. And so she still wanted to pay tribute to Russell Wilson, their quarterback, who's the loser quarterback. She gets that tattooed. Now we have an opportunity in 2 weeks to make this all right. So I'm going to say that probably, in 2 weeks over there in Mountain View, which is where NVIDIA is, the big artificial intelligence metaverse virtual reality company is right next to the stadium, Levi Stadium, at the number 13 address. This is where we're going to have a redo. We're going to replay what happened in 2015. So probably to make everything balanced, we want the Seahawks to win this game. Then the Seahawks will be Super Bowl champion. And the New England Patriots, they've already won 6 Super Bowls already. So who cares, right? They don't need to. Seattle has won 1 Super Bowl, but New England has won 6. So they don't need a 7th Super Bowl when Seattle needs a 2nd Super Bowl. So Seattle is going to probably win. That would be my prediction, is that they're going to win the rematch with the New England Patriots in 2 weeks, because that will balance the books. And the 2 quarterbacks combined make number 13. The venue is a number 13 stadium. And that would be my prediction. When the San Francisco 49ers played the Kansas City Chiefs 2 Super Bowls ago in the year 2024, that was Super Bowl 58. And 58 is a 13. And you asked me what stadium did they use? They used the Allegiant Stadium. That's where a slave pledges their allegiance to their owner, the slave to the slave owner, Allegiant. Well, it was Allegiant Stadium. Do you know what the street address is? 3333 Al Davis Way. Do you know what the building closest in proximity to the Allegiant Stadium is? Well, it would be the tallest pyramid in Las Vegas, the Luxor Hotel. MGM, Amazon owns now. Amazon bought MGM, so Amazon owns the pyramid. That address is 3900 South Las Vegas Boulevard. That's a 12, just like Mina Kimes. 3333 is the address for the pyramid. Carrot Top is the resident comedian of the pyramid. Carrot Top, that's Donald Trump. Donald Trump's Carrot Top. The president of the United States is Carrot Top, and there is a comedian called Carrot Top, and he is the resident act at the Luxor Pyramid Hotel, which is walking distance to the stadium called Allegiant Stadium, where they pledge your allegiance to a 13-stripe flag. And we have Taylor Swift, who is dating one of the players, Travis Kelce. So there's more time talking about her and panning up to her executive suite booth than there is talking about what's going on the field. They're talking about this fake romance. And that was back in 2024, in February 2024, Super Bowl number 58, which is 13. That game went all 4 quarters tied into overtime. The quarterbacks, let's look at their numbers, shall we? We had Brock Purdy was the quarterback of the San Francisco 49ers. His number is 13. I mean, they're not even hiding it. So he's 13. And then Patrick Mahomes is the quarterback of the Kansas City Chiefs. His number is 15. That's a 1 and a 5. That's a 6. That's 3-3. So I have 13 versus 33. And they're tied after 4 quarters. They played 4 quarters, it's tie. So now we play a new game for 10 minutes in overtime. Whereupon San Francisco is threatening to win the game. And instead of running the ball, when they're within 6 yards of they first down and 6 yards to go, I would call a running play. But no, they passed the ball just like Pete Carroll and Russell Wilson did in Super Bowl 48 to throw an interception, and they throw an interception. And lights out, game over, and Kansas City wins. So again, you have a 13 versus a 33, played at a 33-33 address, and we celebrate the goodness of America, freedom, liberty, justice for all, justice for none. Liar, liar, pants on fire. So every single Super Bowl is fixed, okay? And is every football game fixed? Well, yeah, at least partially fixed. And is every college football fixed? Yes, absolutely. Anything that's on television can be fixed, 100%. It has to be fixed. And the reason it has to be fixed is they sell commercial advertising and they pre-sell it. So they have to show those commercials over a 3-hour period. And in the words of a referee from Pac-10, which is now today I think called the Pac-12, I asked, hey, is college football fixed? You're a ref, and everyone in the room, Michael, gave me a dirty look. Like, you're not supposed to ask that question. Is it rigged? Is it fixed? So of course I did. I asked. So with all these young men staring at me, like the looks could kill, right? The referee, he gave me an honest answer. He said, well, let me put it this way. On every snap of the football throughout the whole game, there's a violation of the rules, at least 1 or 2 or 3 penalty flags we could throw. At least every play. Holding, offsides, illegal motion. There's something went wrong. And I said, so what is your point? He said, do you see me throwing a flag every time they snap the ball? And I said, no, you don't. He goes, the game will be 9 hours long. We'd never get done, right? We'd have to evaluate the penalties every single time. That would make the game 3 times longer. Instead of 3 hours, it'd be a 9-hour game, right? So I said, what are you saying? He goes, it's show business. The show is a 3-hour show. It's not a 9-hour show. So he goes, if you want to see sports, go watch children play. Go watch them play where there's no money involved. Go watch them play. But if you have billions of dollars advertising money, I guarantee you have a producer, a director, and they have an earpiece in every referee's ear. And they say, don't throw that flag. And they have a pre-meeting where they already know who's going to win the game. And they go, let them play the first half. And then the second half, look at the score. And if the wrong team is leading, start throwing flags at that team, because of course that team is committing penalties for sure, but so's the other team. So what they do is they stop calling penalties on the team that's going to win, and they throw all the penalties that the team's going to lose, and that helps turn the game around. It also makes it entertaining for the fans, because you have a team that's up that all of a sudden falls behind. And this is called show business entertainment. And this is no different than creating, a Columbo episode or a Barnaby Jones or some television show that you might like, where you want to inject drama, where it looks like your hero is on the ropes and he's going to not solve the case, right? Or as Lieutenant Inspector Clouseau says, he solved the case, but it looks like he's not going to solve the case because everybody's against him. But then he pulls it out at the last minute. This is a tremendous drama, and this is great entertainment value. Does it have anything to do with the truth? No, it has nothing to do with the truth.
I was
Okay,
going to
was
say,
there a question, Josh? Go ahead.
I was just going to say, like, over the past couple episodes we've done, I think I've gotten to this point, and I was going to say, there's too much on the line, and that's what you just said. Like, when there's money involved, and there's so many vested interests, the same with Davos, as we talked about it too. All of this force, there's no question about it. That much on the line, it's always going to be scripted, because everybody wants things to be done perfectly, and any variation will have another process come in and try to solve it. It's a machine, and it has to work in a well-oiled manner.
Well, yes, because you see, in organic world of sport, you always have luck, and somebody has to win and someone has to lose. Otherwise, it's not really sport. You have to have a winner, and you have lots and lots of losers. You have lots of losers, and one person is a winner, or the team, one team. All right. So, but see, it's uncertain, right? You know that if you're just playing straight up, there's always a question of whether you're going to win or not, right? But what the controllers do is they don't like uncertainty. They want 100% the outcome that they're paying for, the outcome that they hired the producer and the director to deliver to them. They're not going to do a Columbo episode where Columbo cannot figure out who the murderer is. Can you imagine a Columbo where you invest 2 hours of your time watching this Columbo and then he gives up?
Right.
I mean, you would never watch another Columbo again.
It's true.
Or Inspector Clouseau, where he doesn't solve the case. And that would be the end of the Pink Panther series. It would go right down the drain, right? It would go downtown to Chinatown, down, right? So they want to put certainty into something that by design is supposed to have uncertainty. And but they don't want to make it look like they're fixing the game. So what they do is they deny everything. Are your players using illegal drugs? Well, the correct answer is, well, yes, all of them are. And the coaches are on drugs too. The coaches are on amphetamines. Are they going to say that? No, they're going to say, no, of course not. And we have drug testing. How dare you ask such a stupid question? And no more questions for you. And if you ever ask again, we will ban you from the journalists. No sport journalists, any smarty pants sport journalists who ask a doping question will be uninvited to the media question and answer period. They'll be uninvited.
Well, this is what you've just described about how the games are orchestrated. This just goes with what I was saying about people like their lies because they want the game to be a 3-hour show. They don't want it to be decided in the first hour. I mean, if you had a blowout where one team was so dominant.
Well, that has happened. That has happened in a Super Bowl. We've had a blowout. It has happened. The ratings are very poor because when that happens at halftime, people who are not really invested in those teams, they switch channels.
Oh, okay.
So it sort of depends. Did you want the ratings to be high? If you have a blowout, you're going to lose 50% of your audience is going to tune out.
Okay.
So that is a question. And you know they would have a discussion about that. Like if it is a blowout, which can happen. And then they would probably have to have like an emergency meeting and it's like, should we let it continue or should we fix it, because they can fix it.
Mm.
They can fix it. If you throw too many flags consecutively at the same team, people start to smell a rat. But they should, because there are 90% of the penalties are not called. So people don't seem to care if it's not. They only care when a flag is thrown. They say it's a bad call. But 90% are bad calls, because 90% they should throw a flag and they don't. See, this is the same thing of having a Warren Commission and looking into in asking questions of 558 witnesses and not asking them important questions, and then being aware there's another 30 or 40 people who were present for the Jack Kennedy murder and not inviting them to your investigation, just excluding them. Or at the O.J. Simpson murder case, where we have very important witnesses never called Faye Resnick, never called Michael Eisner. Why? Why not? I mean, do they know OJ? Yeah, they do. They spent a lot of time with them? Yeah, they did. So just like a criminal case, you can exclude witnesses. You can not ask questions that you should ask. With a game, you can throw flags at the team that you want to lose and throw a few flags of the team that's going to win, so that you can't be criticized for you never penalized the winning team. You'd say, no, we did, 5-6 times we did, but 30 times to the losing team. And they want to have plausible deniability, obviously, but that doesn't mean that they're not deciding in a conference room which team should have more penalty flags. Because once you know that they don't throw flags on all the penalties, then that's a fix. And then of the flags that you are allowed to call within the 3-hour dome of the show, which team do you do 50-50? Is it even? Or do you throw more flags on the team who's going to lose? And I think there's never been an analysis of that, because it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing if you see that the teams that lose are probably penalized more. And then they'll blame it on the players. They'll say the players, cheated. They deserve those penalties. They're cheating on the winning team too. I mean, the team that's winning is all on drugs. The team that's losing is all on drugs. So that's okay. I mean, nobody cares. They just want their team to win. And none of the players actually were born and raised in the city that they represent. They didn't go to school there. They're just moved around like racehorses around the country to different tracks, and then they put a uniform on them and say, "Oh, this represents Chicago. This is the Chicago Bear uniform." And here we have the San Francisco 49ers who play in Levi Stadium, which is in Mountain View. Why do you call them the San Francisco 49ers? They don't play in San Francisco. Why do you call the New York Giants the New York Giants? They play in New Jersey, East Rutherford, New Jersey. I think it's the Giants play there. So why are you calling it New York? It's not New York. It's New Jersey. Damn it. But you see, and UC San Diego is in La Jolla. It's in La Jolla. It's not in San Diego. University of California, Santa Barbara is in Ileton. Why don't you call it UC Ileton? Well, nobody knows where Ileton is. Okay, well, not that many people went to Santa Barbara, but if they went, they'd know, hey, so why is the university 15 miles up the road? Why can't I walk to it? Well, it's not here. That's why. So even little things like Santa Barbara and San Diego, they lie about their schools, their universities. They lie. They lie at Disneyland. Disneyland, they lie. Yeah, they lie real big time at Disneyland. Let me show you a picture of what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about Pinocchio with his nose longer than a telephone wire, because, remember Pinocchio? Whenever he told a lie, his nose grew, right? Remember that? Wasn't that a child's fable, which applies to adults? All right. So here's a picture of what I'm talking about with Disneyland. Here's Ronald Reagan, who's works for the United States Army Intelligence, U.S. Airborne, works for Warner Brothers, has a Screen Actors Guild card. Ronald Reagan is an actor. He has a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. And here he is. Presiding over a group of people with Mickey Mouse. He's got Mickey Mouse right there. Mickey Mouse. And Mickey Mouse is kind of like the the icon of Disneyland. And Disneyland has Main Street USA. But if you walk north on Main Street USA, you will come to the Matterhorn. Matterhorn's at the north end. And the Matterhorn, last I checked, is in Switzerland. It's in Switzerland. So if you walk down Main Street USA, you end up in Switzerland. And that's not well known. And the only place you can buy alcohol at Disneyland is in Club 33. I said Club 33. It's a private club. 33. It's over at the Pirates of the Caribbean ride, upstairs, behind a locked door. You have to be a member. And you can get any alcoholic beverage you want. You can get a whiskey. You can get a lemon drop martini. You can slam down, Schlitz malt liquor. Whatever you want. They got you covered at Club 33. And what's the address of Disneyland? You might be wondering, in case you want to send a postcard. It's 3333 Disneyland Drive, Anaheim, California. 3333. It's like Mina Keems's tattoo, 3333, right? Just like the Luxor Pyramid in Las Vegas. Just like the Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas, next door to the pyramid. So you have these numbers, 13 and 33 and 3333, which is emphasizing 33. And we have Mickey Mouse, and we got Ronald Reagan, who is one of the very best examples I could ever think about a phony fake person. Okay, he has two wives. Both of them are Screen Actors Guild wives. One is Anne Frances Robbins, but everybody thinks her name is Nancy Davis. That's not her name. Her name is Anne Frances Robbins. Anne Frances Robbins. And his first wife, which I just forgotten her name, she was a Screen Actors Guild actress also. So the only women that Ronald Reagan was married to were fake. They're both actresses. Okay. And then he was the president of the Screen Actors Guild for 7 terms, 6.5 years, seven terms. And then he became governor of California. Okay. Then he eventually, he was a spokesman for General Electric. Then he was governor of California. And then he was the fake president of the United States for 8 years with George Shultz, Caspar Weinberger, and Henry Kissinger coming and going. And, it's like, what is real and what is fake? Well, here's Victor Davis Hanson saying that it's the end of everything. The problem is, Victor Davis Hanson, he's fake. He's as fake as you can get. He's a fellow of the Hoover Institute. Oh my God, my child is dead and my garroted, strangulated, and left in my high security house in the wine cellar. I don't know what happened. Yeah, well, you're executive vice president of Lockheed Martin, John Ramsey. This is your second eldest daughter to be killed. Your first eldest daughter's named Elizabeth with your first ex-wife. This is your second ex-wife because remember, she died of cancer shortly after your 6-year-old John Benet Ramsey got strangulated and left in your wine cellar. I'm sure you know who put that body in there. It's just that you want to pretend you're Mickey Mouse and we're all at the park. Here's Ronald Reagan with Mikhail Gorbachev. Is that his first name, Jennifer? Mikhail Gorbachev.
Mikhail Gorbachev.
Okay,
Mikhail.
They're both wearing their 10-gallon cowboy hats. They have no cattle. I can attest to that because this picture is taken at the Santa Barbara Ranch, where I've ridden my bike right on the perimeter of this, and there are no cows. They have no cows on that ranch. So here's a couple of cowboys, and they have no cattle. There's a message there. If you were a member of the California Cattle Association, they actually make jokes about that there's people who wear cowboy hats and that don't actually own any cows. And they look at those people with disdain because they're fake cowboys. Like, you don't know how to rustle. You don't own any cows. How do you know how to brand a cow? You don't own any cows. You're fake, right? Well, Ronald Reagan has fake cowboy because he has no cows. And Mikhail Gorbachev, he's just playing along, right? But these guys are fake leaders of their countries. This guy's in charge of the Soviet Union. This guy's in charge of a colony for Switzerland that we call the United States of America. And they got their 10-gallon cowboy hats, but they have no cattle. You see, Rose? You see how ludicrous this is? Okay, this is why I started my channel, Jennifer and Rose and Chattahoochee. So I have all these cans in my garage of whoop ass, and they just been sitting there, right? So I like, I'm going to break out a can of one of these. I'm going to tear it open. I'm upset. I am sick and tired of being sick and tired. I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. So I'm going to break out a can of whoop ass. I said that at a bike race once. I said, you guys are pissing me off because they were giving me, because I won this race for 3 years. And then they said, oh, you're going to go for number 4 and everything. I go, I'm going to break out a can of whoop ass. You guys are making me mad. Now, they didn't know I had a sore throat and I was actually really sick. So I knew I was going to get creamed in that race. But I just told them, I just like try to psych them out. I'm going to break out a can of whoop ass, and ended up getting destroyed in the race. But it did sound fun at the starting line. Do you trust these people? You trust these people? These people are healthcare professionals. Hey, what do you sneeze in that thing? Are you wearing a diaper? Do you put one of those on your dog? Does your dog have COVID? Are you boosted? Do you have the bird flu vaccine? Do you have monkeypox? Do you have ringing in your ears? Do you have Havana syndrome? Are you lying? Do you get paid to pimp out COVID vaccines? Are you paid to pimp out? That's my question. Because the answer is yes, they are. This is pretty real. NATO, or as they say in Europe, OTAN, OTAN, right? OTAN. Do you know I found a trailer with a energy generator on it 10 miles to the west of me on Crest Avenue in Nevada, California, above Black Point, where they used to have the Renaissance Festival. And it was spray painted OTAN. That's how I learned that it's NATO spelled backwards. OTAN. Do we trust this guy? This is a Hollywood actor, James Wood. He appeared on Megyn Kelly's show when we had a year ago. He appeared January 2025 with Megyn Kelly to discuss the destruction of Pacific Palisades due to fire, which they blamed on Gavin Newsom, I guess. And that he lost his home. He was crying. He was crying. Like Walter Cronkite crying that John Kennedy has lost his life. Well, so anyway, we find out about 2 months later, his home didn't burn down. He lied. His home did not burn down. Did Megyn Kelly issue an apology and a correction? No, she's a respected member of the media journalists. So she just forgot about it. That's good journalism, where we don't draw attention to our mistakes. But you know what? It wasn't a mistake. It was just a bald-faced lie, which they don't consider lying a mistake. This is real. This is real. This is over by Goat Rock, Jenner. This is Jenner, California, where the Russian River meets. Just beyond this bluff is the Russian River, which is a sanctuary for sea lions right on the other side of this bluff to the north. This is facing north. And this is the Pacific Ocean, and it's very real. I've been here many times, and I brought my dog here too. And I'm happy to tell you, very few people actually visit this. So when you're there, you're either going to be there alone, or maybe there's 3 or 4 other people. Can you imagine having all this either to yourself or to 4 people? I mean, that's plenty of room to share with 4 people. That's very real. But it's very different than, going and spending a day with James Wood. It's completely different. This is Patrick McGowan, who in the television show The Prisoner, his character's name was number 6, which is 33. He's character number 33. But to me, he's Patrick McGowan. And, Patrick McGowan, he lived here in Pacific Palisades. He lived right behind Ronald Reagan and across the street from Randy Newman. Remember, Short People Got No Reason to Live? It's Money That Matters. I Love LA, Randy Newman. He's neighbors with Patrick McGowan. Now, Patrick has died recently, so he's gone. But Randy Newman, he's still there. And you know what? James Wood, he still lives in Pacific Palisades because his home didn't burn down. He just said it burned down. He lied. He lied. He lied. All right, let's go to you, Rose. What do you think about that?
I mean, they are pathological liars. That's what they are, aren't they? They're sick that they're lying to the people about, I mean, sorry, what, James Wood, sorry, yeah, lying to the people about his house. I cannot understand that. And why nobody's calling him out on that? How is that possible?
I don't know. William Shatner, he's from Quebec.
Yeah,
Would William Shatner, he's Canadian. Would he lie?
he's
Here's
an actor.
Henry Kissinger. He's from Germany, but he likes to speak with a heavy German accent, so you won't think he's Jewish, but he's German Jewish. And would he lie? He sure as
Mhm.
hell did lie. Would Nancy Pelosi lie? Which she went to Trinity University in Washington D.C. and which is a Catholic school. Would she lie? Oh yeah, she would. Would Steven Schwartzman lie? He's the managing director of Blackstone. He had 5 people murdered in his building 6 months ago.
Mhm.
He's never really discussed it. He had 5 dead people in his lobby. How come? How did that happen? You're one of the biggest financial private institutions in the world, owned by Credit Suisse Boston. I mean, you're owned by Credit Suisse, which is owned by Union Bank of Switzerland, UBS. That's who is his boss, Swiss Bank. And he had 5 people killed in his building, and we don't know what happened. Pee Wee Herman, he would never lie to you. He's a child entertainment comedian, right? Would the World Bank, would they lie? I knew Tom Clausen. You know who else was the president of this bank? Tom Clausen and Robert McNamara. Would Robert McNamara lie? Or would he tell you, no, no, it's just the fog of war, right? It's the, see, you don't understand. It's very complicated when you're have an important job and you went and got an MBA from Harvard and you went to Cal Berkeley like Robert McNamara does. And then he wields like a dagger. He wields the fog of war and had a book under the same name. And he wields this like a dagger to apologize for the fact that he got it wrong. He got it wrong. Because you know what? He works for Credit Suisse. This is who Steven Schwartzman works for, Rose. And this is the problem that Franklin has. And this is the problem that I have. This was the problem that Maria Ambrelli had. Everybody thought she killed Miguel, the chauffeur. Everybody was convinced she killed Miguel, except Inspector Clouseau, who vindicated her and proved her innocence. The only person amongst an army of people that said, she did it. She did it. Look at her. Her face is green. Look at him. He would never lie to you. Russell Brand with his 33 tattooed on his arm, married to Katy Perry for 9 months. He wouldn't lie. Just Chief Justice Earl Warren in his library, he would never lie. Mina Kimes, the delightful, the beguiling Mina Kimes, with her 22 Super Bowl 48 tattooed on her arm, 33, she'd never lie. She doesn't know anything about steroids, though. She doesn't know nothing about fixing games, doesn't know about gambling. Would Dirty Harry lie? He's got a dead woman in his bed. Remember Christina Sandora? She's dead. She's 61 years old in her bed. Haven't heard a peep out of him. What happened there, Clint? Here's the Pendletons that you know as the Beach Boys. They're wearing their Pendleton shirts. The Beach Boys. Would they lie? I don't know. The Beatles, they lied, didn't they? Somebody lied. Would an angry clown lie? No. Would Diana Ross lie? No, she wouldn't lie to me. Well, where are you getting all your messages from? I got the Howl 9000 monitoring your blood pressure, your body temperature, your glucose, insulin levels, using gateways to other services for precision medicine. Would your doctor lie to you? Hey, would Noam Chomsky lie? Noam, would you lie? I understand you like Jeffrey Epstein. You hang out with Jeffrey Epstein and Woody Allen. Would they lie? You better believe it. Computer to brain interface, or they like to call it brain to computer interface. So you think that you're bossing the computer around. At Juxtaposition, we call it computer to brain because the computer is in charge. Now you, this is Joe Rogan, and we're going to start focusing on him. This guy promotes tattoos, sleeves. He promotes steroids, amphetamines, illegal doping, mixed martial arts, which is dope violence. He draws a paycheck from MMA television events. Lance Armstrong, he worked for Nike. Just do it. Their slogan is just do it. Just cheat, lie, and dope. This is he draped in the American flag. So he's lying to you under the colonial flag of America. Would Lance Armstrong lie to you? He did for 13 friggin' years, didn't he? Yeah, he did. He lied. Oprah even found that out.
I was
Would
going to
Richard
say
Nixon lie? Would Richard Nixon lie? Yeah, he
there's
would. Anybody that, just a second, Josh, anybody who drapes themselves in an American flag with Pentagon stars is a liar. And that would include Richard Gage. That includes the Knights Templar or the Knights of Malta. And that definitely includes Danny Bongino, the Donald Trump supporter, right? That also includes Jack. What's this guy's name? Jack.
Pashobic.
What's his last name?
Pasobic.
Oh, well, no,
I think that's how you say it.
no, his Hollywood name, Trapper or something. Jack Trapper or something. This
Jack
is
Dorsey.
yeah,
It's
Jack
Jack
Dorsey.
Dorsey.
Oh, okay.
It's
Yeah.
Jack Dorsey. This is Martha Nolan. I don't know. She's dead at age 33, so we don't know what happened to her because they don't follow up on her, and there doesn't appear to be any criminal investigation going on involving a 33-year-old woman. Now this is my brother and I. We just finished a race around Lake Tahoe, and it looks like somebody dumped a load of chemtrails on us, doesn't it? And here we are in the parking lot of trying to remember where we were. This is, I think, it's across the street. I forgot the name of this hotel. It's across the street from Harris. I forgot the name of this hotel. This is a well-known hotel with a swimming pool, and we're going to go to the right, and to the right of this picture is a barbecue, and at the pool, we're going to go into the pool area. But we just finished going around. Is that fake? Okay, I'm saying it's not fake, but here's, I believe this is Lady Gaga doing a Coachella commercial for the music festival out in the Palm Desert of California. And what do you know? She is mimicking John F. Kennedy, where her right eye is closed. Remember, Jack Kennedy had his right eye blown out with a rifle bullet. And here we have Lady Gaga simulating the Jack Kennedy assassination decades later. Would Larry Silverstein lie to you? Here's the guy who built the 12 buildings of the World Trade Center and had the lease for the 70% empty space in the World Trade Center, and his buildings were collapsed. And he said he pulled Building 7, which is a bald-faced lie. It would take you 6 months to wire Building 7. He didn't pull anything. NATO is in charge of that. So this is like what I think of when I think of Chattahoochee graduating from high school on a Zoom. This is the future of our world. Kids that are obedient, they follow orders, they wear their face diapers, they wear their black robes, right? And they do what they're told. And then they can get a job, at Stanford University, the Hoover Institute, Lockheed, Disney Corporation will hire them. The World Bank will hire them. Maybe Nancy Pelosi can refer you to someplace. So with that said, this business of the black robes and this business of Chief Justice Earl Warren, who is wearing a black robe, just like those high school kids are. Josh, could you cue up the clip regarding the celebration of the Super Bowl and the temple worshipers who wear black robes?
Yeah, and real quick, I was going to say their lying always comes back to two things. Remember these. It's either one, it's not personal, it's just business. That's the first one, and the other one is that if I don't do it, somebody else will do it. That's the two excuses.
Right. That's the end justifies the means mentality of the Jesuits. That's a Jesuit belief. Okay, so see what you can do about illustrating my point here about the black robe people. Can you trust them?
Here we go.
Yes, brilliantly done, Josh.
Thank you.
Brilliantly done. You discovered that video and you presented it. The Super Bowl, which is coming up in less than 2 weeks now, is the sign and symbol that embodies tonight's video. It really does. That little clip there, there's a lot going on in that clip. Most people are going to miss most of it. But in that clip, we had Tom Brady was shown in that clip. He's the greatest quarterback in the history of the NFL. He has the most Super Bowl wins. Even when he was sitting on the bench and not on the field, he still gets credit for his defense winning the game. And they never talk about the defense. They talk about Tom Brady because he's the leader of the team, even though he only plays 1/3 of the game. The game is offense, defense, and special teams. And Tom Brady doesn't play special teams. He doesn't run punts back, doesn't run the kickoff back, and he doesn't play defense. So he's 1/3 of the game. But for purposes of marketing football to the clueless, profane public, the quarterback is the most important player on the field, which is not true. He's 1/3. You know, he's important. You can't win without him, but you can't win with him. It's not enough. Somebody's got to block the punt, or somebody's got to like defend your opponent, or you're going to get clobbered, right? Anyway, and Dean Martin is in that video. Dean Martin, Mr. Cool, the cool of cool. I didn't see Sammy Davis Jr., but it's possible he was there. I just have to study it more. We have J. Edgar Hoover, the leader of the FBI for like 60 years, a raving homosexual with his homosexual lover, Clyde Tolston, who did not appear in the video, who was his number 2 man at the FBI, was Clyde Tolston. You do know there was 2 homosexuals that ran the FBI for 60 years. Do you take the FBI seriously? I don't. I never did. We even had a person in my neighborhood who worked for the FBI. I didn't take him seriously either. I don't know what he did. He just went off to the office every day. And it's like a toothless German Shepherd. He's not going to hunt. He's not going to hunt. So anyway, that's J. Edgar Hoover was in that video. And there are many people in that video besides George W. George W. Bush is in that video. He was a 16-year-old looking at the Dallas police motorcycles just before Jack Kennedy had his head blown off. George W. was present at Dealey Plaza for the murder of John Kennedy, and he's in that video. Now, that video represents steroids, testosterone, amphetamines, blood doping, fixing games, throwing penalties on the team that's going to lose, throwing more penalties on the team that's going to lose, throwing some penalties on the team that's going to win. It's about corporate advertising. The halftime show will be Masonic. They have had Billy Shears has performed at halftime. Madonna has performed at halftime. Who else have we had? We had Michael Jackson performed at halftime. All members of the cult of the Black Robes, like Earl Warren here. Earl Warren is in the same club of the people that brought you that clip, the clip of the Black Robe temple worshipers. That's Earl Warren. He's from my backyard. And we named a freeway after him here. We have the Warren Freeway. Do you know what numerical tag they've given it? Highway 13. Highway 13 is the Earl Warren Freeway. You know who lives on that road? Jennifer Doudna of CRISPR Therapeutics. She lives on Vincente Drive, 2 blocks off the Warren Freeway. Only it's called Tunnel Road. It has name evolutions. It's the Warren Freeway, and it's Tunnel Road in Jennifer Doudna, Claremont Hotel, whereupon it changes magically like Houdini into Ashby Avenue. So Ashby Avenue, Tunnel Road, Jennifer Doudna, and then Warren Freeway, where Sonny Barger lived off. Sonny Barger, the president of the Hells Angels, and where Jethro Bodine of the Beverly Hillbillies, he lived off that Warren Freeway also. Jethro lived on the Warren Freeway. And then we have the Nolan Park Zoo, which is at the end of the Warren Freeway, or the beginning. The beginning or the end depends if you're going north or south. You're either at the beginning or the end of the Warren Freeway. So I find signs and symbols rule our world. 13 is all over the Super Bowl. 13 is all over Earl Warren as a judge and the namesake of the Warren Commission. All right. So, Chattahoochee, what are your thoughts so far in this video?
Well, I was just looking up the guy behind you, just
Yeah.
doing a little research while you were talking, and turns out he is an active and prominent Freemason, it says. So, or was. He died
He
in the
was Chief
70s.
Justice of the Supreme Court.
Yeah, I feel like that's a little required.
He's the head law enforcement agency
What
for the United States.
was he Catholic? Is he a Roman Catholic?
Good question. I don't know.
I don't
He,
know either. Let me
the
see.
Warren Freeway, Bishop O'Dowd is on the Warren Freeway. That's where I used to play
The
I used to play orchestras there. Where Sonny Barger of the Hells Angels were, where Jethro Bodine lived, on the opposite side of that freeway and up on a steep hill. Juxtaposition played the trumpet in the Catholic Youth Orchestra for many concerts. And this is where the beginning of the Warren Freeway is. It comes together with the Nolan Park Zoo, Sonny Barger and the Hells Angels, the Oak Knoll Navy Hospital. There's a naval hospital there. There's a Catholic high school there. And there's a fishing trout. There's a trout pond there. And if you can picture it, I was there. I didn't go to school there, but I went there as part of the orchestra. I was in the orchestra there.
the Supreme Court has actually always had a very good Catholic majority. Not I'm not a concentration, not majority, but like over the years, it has always had a good number of Catholics on the Supreme Court.
Yeah, Kennedy, I guess, and of course Jack Kennedy, who was killed. He didn't last very long, right? He lasted less than his term. Remember how many months did Jack Kennedy last? Josh, this is a little trick question for you. How many months was John F. Kennedy, the Catholic president? How many months was he president?
33.
That's correct, 33 months. How many days? How many days did Pope John Paul the First? How many
33.
days did he live before his papacy was terminated? How many days?
33.
Right,
33.
33.
I was wondering, it's like what if Kennedy was the first Catholic president? Don't you think they would need the Pope to sign off on the assassination?
I mean, the Pope's probably taking a nap. You got to keep.
I don't know, or at least the Catholic.
Can't slow down the train just because one guy's taking a nap.
I mean, that's a big asset to lose.
But don't you think Swiss authorities preempt the Vatican?
Well, I mean, they've got guys that have guns on the Pope. Yeah.
Who guards the Pope? Right?
Yeah.
Just have one of the guards sign.
Yeah. Right. They're living with them. They're like, yeah, we'll keep you safe, buddy. 500 years later.
Right. That's how Jack Kennedy felt, right? Like, hey, where's Clint Hill? Isn't he supposed to guard my wife? Oh, no, my brain just got blown out. Hey, Clint, where are you? Bam! Oh, game over.
Pretty good contract to last 500 years.
Jackie had no guard. It's like, Jack, who's guarding Jackie? I don't know. He left. He abandoned his post. Jennifer, what do you say about that?
Well, first of all, I mean, do you agree that the Swiss authorities have veto power over them? I mean, they're higher up than the Vatican, correct?
Oh, hell yes. Yeah.
Okay. Well,
yeah, they go way, way back.
Yeah,
and,
I mean, they could put Ronald McDonald in there. Look who they have before the Pope that we got now. But before Leo, we had a saloon bouncer.
Yeah.
All right, Francis. He works in a bar, throwing people out.
That's
that
incredible.
Was our. He's not even. I don't even think he's an ordained priest.
I don't think people know that.
Well, it does. He's gone now. So
yeah, you're right. Yeah, he's dead.
Next, because we're back to Chicago, where Paul Marcinkus came from. I'm surprised we don't, have a hologram of Tony Arcardo, and he should be the next pope. I think he'd make a great pope. He'd be. Look, Tony the Batters. We'll get stuff done. Tony the Batters. You know why they call him the Batters? Because he used a baseball bat to make his point.
Yeah.
Tony the Batters. That was before he was big tuna. He could afford to go marlin fishing.
I think really in the course of the investigations that we've all done together and just what Juxtaposition and I have done, we always find the Catholic positioning is interesting. They always are just nearby, or it's like they always pop up. Like they would be a brilliant group to provide just infrastructure along the way. During the like after the Civil War when Lincoln was assassinated, they had the only female who Mary Surratt, who was hanged for the assassination conspiracy with John Wilkes Booth.
Right.
Her son, who was interesting, her son John Surratt lived until like the 1920s, and he was acquitted. They found him working in Rome as a papal Swiss guard or Zouv or whatever. This was interesting because they had a network of boarding houses that his mother owned, where they were able to smuggle people out of the country. And so they had this network going all the way back then. So it seems like they are providing a great networking, and they pop up everywhere. Very interesting.
Yes. Well, I have another part of the presentation I wanted to walk people through and get everybody's opinion on this. And it had to do with the promo post that I made. It was not a video post. It was just a discussion, points that we're going to make tonight on the show. And that was and everybody here is already familiar with some of this. So I thank you for indulging me on this. So the word Charlie or Charles, which is often abbreviated to Charlie, as a fan friendly, familiar name, Charlie, it applies to so many things, right? So in COINTELPRO counterintelligence, they've adopted the word Charlie, and Josh will give you the root meaning of the word Charlie. But which, by the way, why don't you tell us what Charlie means, Josh?
It comes from the German word Karl, or name, Karl, which means free man. Free man.
Like Freemason or free man. Okay.
Yep.
A player in the game is Charlie. So when we had the Vietnam War after the Gulf of Tonkin resolution in 1964, then American troops were in bulk shipped to Vietnam. There were already contractors in field. They were introduced to all the Army and Marines and Air Force people that came over. There was a euphemism applied to the enemy. The enemy is two types. There's the North Vietnamese Army, NVA. They wear uniforms and they use Chinese manufactured Russian design AK-47s and rocket propelled grenades and other types of weapons. And they wear uniforms. So it's very clear who the enemy was, right? But the majority of the enemy were referred to as Viet Cong. They did not wear uniforms. They were civilian farmers. So they would work in the rice fields during the day or work feeding the chickens or herding the cows. And they're in the food production part. And at night, they would go out and lay mines or snipe at Americans or cause trouble within their strategic hamlet areas. They did it at nighttime. And they were referred to as Viet Cong. But they had another euphemism. They were called Charlie, that the Viet Cong were synonymous with the word Charlie. So then this went through the media and presented to the United States that Charlie meant Viet Cong. It means sort of clandestine Gladio style people who don't wear uniforms. You know, Gladio doesn't wear uniforms either, right? But we don't call the murderers of Sharon Tate, we don't call them Charlie. It's only people in Southeast Asia who don't wear uniforms. They're Charlie, meaning they're communists. So the synonyms that were in play in the media were communist, Charlie, and Viet Cong. And remember, it was Muhammad Ali that said, I'm not going to kill no Kong. I don't know no Kong. Right? Remember, he was an anti-war protester. Cassius Clay, who then changed his name to Muhammad Ali. Anyway, I wanted just to emphasize to you that Charlie is part of the Matrix of Mendacity. And we've had many assassinations in our American history and in our world history. So we had John Fitzgerald Kennedy, and they had a scapegoat for him. We had Martin Luther King. We had a scapegoat for him, James Earl Ray. We had Robert Francis Kennedy killed. We had a scapegoat for him. His name Sirhan Sirhan. We had Gerald Ford had two failed assassinations. We had
Garfield.
scapegoats. We had scapegoats that were arrested. One was a Manson family member, if you believe that. Both of them were Secret Service approved and permitted to get within, 1 foot of Gerald Ford, but then did not shoot him. One had an unloaded gun, so that wasn't going to work. The Manson family, they didn't have a bullet in the gun. The other one did have a bullet in the gun, but she fired it straight up right at the Bohemian Club and the St. Francis Hotel. She shot up at the sky. So that's not going to assassinate Gerald Ford. Anyway, then we had Donald Trump. He had a fake, at least one fake assassination, might have had more than that. And they arrested a scapegoat, and we don't talk about it anymore. Then we had John Paul I. He was given a cyanide laced cup of tea. And before we did the embalming, before we did an autopsy, we embalmed his body, making an autopsy perfunctory. You can't have an autopsy after you've burned up all of his internal organs. Then we had John Paul II was shot by a domestic terrorist type person in St. Peter's Square. You know where the obelisk is? JP2 was shot. Didn't die. He didn't die of his assassin. He was shot right at the obelisk in his Pope-mobile, the Pope-mobile. Then we had Patrice Lumumba. He had become democratically elected in the Congo, and he was a postal worker who didn't want to go along with the program. So he was assassinated by somebody in the Congo, Patrice Lumumba. And that was right when Jack Kennedy was going to take his oath of office. I think Patrice Lumumba was killed just a few days before Jack Kennedy became president. Then during John Kennedy's presidency, before John Kennedy was murdered, the Diem brothers were murdered, and he had met both of them. They were the presidents of South Vietnam, which is a made-up country run by the CIA. The Diem brothers, they were retired when they were lured out of a Buddhist temple. There's a Catholic church and a Buddhist temple right next to each other across the street from the palace where the Diem brothers lived. One Diem brother was in charge of the South Vietnamese army. The other one was the premier, the prime minister, and they were both lured out of the Buddhist temple. You notice they're both Roman Catholic, but they didn't go to the Roman Catholic Church. They went to the Buddhist temple for sanctuary because they knew they wouldn't be safe at a Catholic church. So they went to the Buddhist temple, but they were told that we're going to kill your family if you don't come out. So they came out to save their family, and then they were shot in the back of a van, around back of the palace. We had the sinking of the United States Maine in the port of Havana, Cuba, in February 1898. A ship guarded 24/7 by the United States Marines. It's a Navy ship guarded by Marines. And we blamed it on the Spanish blew up the ship that's guarded by the Marines. Okay. They couldn't be involved. No, of course not. We had Pearl Harbor, surprise sneak attack, during a time when the United States had an oil embargo imposed against Japan. So apparently it's not much of an embargo. I just sailed 6 aircraft carriers and a whole flotilla of support ships through your stupid oil embargo and attacked Pearl Harbor and sunk a bunch of World War I destined to go to the junkyard ships, the Arizona, and you sunk the Nebraska, the Oklahoma. Who cares? Those ships were going to be, sent to salvage. And I noticed that the Enterprise and the Lexington aircraft carriers, they pulled out of Pearl Harbor before the attack. And I mean, like just before the attack. So it didn't look like it was much of a surprise to Navy intelligence. It was a surprise to the men that died at Pearl Harbor. There's about 2,000 people got killed. And I think they were surprised. But you'll notice that none of the generals got killed. All right. So then we have the United States Army crisis characters who appear in so many stories I've lost count here. Daniel Ellsberg, who was a United States Marine, this United States Marine Corps actor. He worked for the Rand Corporation. He worked for Edward Lansdale also. And he leaked the Pentagon Papers, which omitted the Operation Phoenix component of it, even though Operation Phoenix was very active at the time that Daniel Ellsberg was photocopying the secret files. He forgot the most secret of the secret files. He only photocopied the public files. In other words, everything he leaked was already known. F. Lee Bailey, who represented Captain Medina, Ernest Medina at the My Lai massacre court-martial. And despite 6 witnesses testifying that Medina shot a woman, an unarmed woman, guarded by 2 army men, shot her in the face, his testimony was he thought she was going to throw a hand grenade at him. He killed her. And he was acquitted of murder. And he was the highest ranking officer at My Lai. He was a captain, United States Army. And F. Lee Bailey was his attorney. F. Lee Bailey went on to make sure that Patty Hearst was convicted of bank robbery. Then he went on to get O.J. Simpson acquitted. F. Lee Bailey was O.J. Simpson's, one of his dream team lawyers. Tom Lang, the lead detective of Los Angeles investigation into the Nicole Brown and Ron Goldman murders. He's a United States Marine. F. Lee Bailey, United States Marine. Daniel Ellsberg, United States Marine. Mark Furman, the man who jumped over the wall after the security company asked Tom Lang to do a welfare check on their customer, O.J. Simpson. Forgot the name of the company. The burglar alarm company told the police, go over the wall. So Mark Furman went over the wall, unlocked the gate, and then Phil Van Adder and Mark Furman and another policeman, 4 cops were now inside the gated area. Tom Lang is a Marine. Mark Furman is a Marine. Oliver North is a Marine. You know, arms for hostages, drugs for arms, arms for drugs. Lee Harvey Oswald, blamed for the Kennedy assassination. He's a United States Marine. Leonard Lake and Charles Ng. There's that name Charlie again. Charlie Ng, Charles Ng. They murdered or disappeared 25 people, cremated their remains. Leonard Lake killed himself with military cyanide poisoning, and Charles Ng was found guilty of 13 murders. He didn't have the DNA from the other 12. They had their driver's licenses, but they didn't have the bodies because they were cremated. All right, those are some examples. We have church men of God, and women of God. Jim and Tammy Faye Baker, remember them? Jim and Tammy Faye. God told me to build an amusement park for children and to sell prayer club coffee cups. Sell, because you know I went there. I went to their stupid thing. I wanted to see it. I went there. I was visiting some friends in Charlotte who lived in South Carolina, and they lived pretty close to the Tammy Faye amusement park. So we went. They have a roller coaster. It was not operating. I wanted to ride it, and I told them to build it. Jimmy Swaggart, he dates prostitutes. Jimmy Swaggart, I have sinned. Jimmy Jones, People's Temple, renamed Jonestown. He had some like 900 people got murdered, or supposedly. Who knows? There was no autopsies, so there were 33 survivors of Jonestown. 33. Jerry Falwell, remember Johnny Falwell? He was going to run for president, I think. But Pat Robertson beat him to it. Pat Robertson, remember him? We got Joel Osteen of Lakewood Church in Houston, Texas. Joel Osteen. Okay, Anton LaVey, Church of Satan. Michael Aquino, Temple of Set. Billy Graham, Hare Krishna. I personally met Cyril Hansaduda, and he referred to Prabhupadas, who is his boss, Prabhupada and Cyril Hansaduda, over there at Stewart Street off Telegraph Avenue in Berkeley. I personally met Cyril Hansaduda. He invited me to leave, as what would you expect? Juxtaposition, not comfortable in a poppycock conference at the Hare Krishnas. But before Hare Krishnas, we had Krishna Venta, right? He's a Jewish man from San Francisco. He has another name, but Krishna Venta was his church name. He founded the Fountain of a World Church. If you're wondering where was the church founded, it was founded in San Fernando Valley, Santa Susana Research Lab in Box Canyon, which is right next door to where the Manson family were percolated at the Spawn Ranch. If you walk, we could walk or take a horse ride from the Spawn Ranch, which is a movie set, and just go half a mile and you'd be at Box Canyon, where Krishna Venta founded the Fountain of the World Church. Now, he's not around because he died in a bomb explosion in 1958. He was blown to smithereens in 1958. He founded his church in 1947, so it was an 11-year-old church. Then we have Tom Cruise and John Travolta. They're both members of the Church of Scientology, L. Ron Hubbard, Dianetics, where they audit you, and they have a human performance center. Like I said, we have saloon bouncer Pope Francis. We had Paul Martinkus, the president of the Bank of Vatican. He's a very much a church man. Cyril Hanzaduda, Prabhupada. We got the Mormon LDS, Romney conspiracy, Mitt Romney and George Scott Romney, and dead sister-in-laws. We got Jesse Jackson, Louis Farrakhan. Okay, you getting the picture? Then Hollywood takes the cake, of course, because they've produced lots of important political people. Ronald Reagan, he has a star in Hollywood. He received a star when Joanne Woodward received the star. It was 1962, I think, he got a star. That was the first stars on Hollywood Boulevard. Ronald Reagan. And then Donald Trump, he's got a star on Hollywood Boulevard also. Arnold Schwarzenegger, he became gubernator of California. He's a gubernator. He's also a steroid bodybuilder, Mr. Olympia. And we have Jesse Ventura of the United States Navy SEALs. He is a steroid user and a fake wrestler in sports, WWE wrestling, Worldwide Entertainment. Fred Thompson is a star where he plays the district attorney of New York in Law and Order, the television series, but he's also a United States Senator from Tennessee, I believe. And then we have Al Franken. Al Franken, a Jewish comedian from Saturday Night Live. He became senator from Minnesota. Jesse Ventura was governor of Minnesota. So those two must know each other. Sonny Bono, remember Sonny and Cher? Sonny Bono became a congressman from California. And let's not forget our hogtie bondage guy, Albert Decker, whose real name is Thomas Albert Decker. He was garroted in his bathroom with his with the leash to his collar attached to the shower curtain rod, which meant he must have been strangulated like John Benet Ramsey, and then it was staged and display as a suicide, and it went down as a suicide. I'm just telling you, it's impossible for the Thomas Decker murder to be a suicide. Anyway, we got Huey Newton of the Black Panthers, Bobby Seale, Symbionese Liberation Army, Tanya, aka Patty Hearst, the granddaughter of William Randolph Hearst. We had Jim Brown, football player who went into television in Hollywood, Muhammad Ali, Louis Farrakhan. We got Cesar Chavez, who represents migrant farm workers in California. Angela Davis, Gloria Steinem, Anne Rand, Willie Brown, James Carville, Steve Bannon, who endorses the work and books of Jennifer Doudna, which is, gene editing, Rush Limbaugh, Tim Russert, Oprah Winfrey, Whoopi Goldberg, Phil Donahue, Howard Stern, Rachel Madcow, Jeffrey Epstein, who is a friend of Noam Chomsky. Don't forget, we got Mad Bombers. We got Mad Bomber in New York, George Mataski. We got D.B. Cooper threatened to hijack a plane with a bomb that he never had. Ted Kaczynski, he's a Unabomber. Then we got Rosebud Abigail DeNevo, whose real name is Laura Marie Miller, and she's living in the same cottage that Ted Kaczynski lived in, and she gets shot to death in the entry hall of the Chancellor's building there off Hearst Avenue in Berkeley, California, allegedly by an Oakland policeman, which makes no sense at all since he has no authority to be in Berkeley in the first place when he's on duty. We got Nike dopers, Just Do It. Their slogan is Just Do It by Phil Knight. He got an MBA and his slogan was Just Do It, and use sports entertainment to market woke messaging. And he endorsed steroid users such as Michael Jordan, Lance Armstrong, Live Wrong, punking out the cancer, sufferers, Tiger Woods, Michael Vick, Kobe Bryant, Marion Jones, Tim Montgomery, Regina Jacobs, Tori Edwards. How many doped athletes do I need before you believe me that Nike only endorses doped athletes? Look at all the unfunny comedians who are political commentators. Jimmy Kimmel, Russell Brand, Alex Jones, Larry David, Rob Reiner, who says he knows who killed Jack Kennedy before he died, Bill Maher, Sarah Silverman, Chelsea Handler, John Leibowitz, who goes by John Stewart, but his name is Leibowitz, Jerry Springer, Bob Saget, Adam Carolla, Joey Diaz, Joe Rogan, Bill Burr, Stephen Colbert, Jimmy Fallon, and don't forget Mark Saul, who passed away in Mill Valley, Tiburon. He lived on the Jack Kennedy assassination. His whole act was based on that. All right, so that concludes my contribution to this video. Let's hear from you. next. So who wants to go next? Rose, you want to go next? Any feelings and thoughts you have?
Yeah, no, I mean the religious leaders, I am so surprised about Billy Graham. I used to watch, with my grandmother and my mother, the Crusades and all, or whatever they called them, and very, very convincing. But in the last
Right.
5, 6 years, there's been so much revealed, and it's a total unbelievable. Like what else is there that we've fallen for that is a bunch of lies? But the religious, even right now on when I'm at my mother's house, she watches the Christian stations, and I look at it and I say, this is like right out there. And how they've created this massive business. Um, it's got a
Yeah.
great message, but it is truly a very, very big business with a lot of these players, like Joel Osteen being one of them. The
Right.
prosperity.
Sam Kinison, the comedian, I saw him at least 6 times live. And I talked to him in the parking lot, just the two of us alone in Hollywood. And I loved him. He's just great. He's very authentic. But I know he's in the hornet's nest, right? And he used to make a joke of those preachers on television because people would ask him, "Hey, weren't you a preacher once?" He goes, "Yeah. But that was before the big satellite boom." He goes, "There was no money in it. It's like no money in it." But he goes, "Not like now." He goes, yeah, it's a whole different business now because you're referring to the televangelist
Yes.
as bouncing off the satellites to bring
Mhm.
Jesus into your living room."
Right. Yeah. Yeah, no, it's amazing. It's entertainment, and it is definitely a lot of brainwashing, but there's another
It is a
word.
brainwashing.
You
I would
think it's
say it is.
yeah,
Yeah.
brainwashing. It's kind of like you're mesmerized.
I was gonna,
You're
yeah.
mesmerized. Yeah.
Well, it's funny you said that because I've actually brought something up that I wanted to show you, and it was exactly about that. They have a
Yeah.
method to basically market evil. And so the 3 steps here, I'll make it bigger, are desensitize, jam, and convert. So the first step to desensitize, um, basically a continuous flood of the stimulus, could be anything, just whatever you're trying to desensitize or push. And then once people are tired of it, once it's just everywhere and people don't react to it anymore just because it's considered normal, then at that part you go into stage 2, jamming, psychological terrorism meant to silence expression. Interesting, because by publicly linking any dissenting opinion to hateful figures like Nazis or the KKK, they intimidate opposition into silence. And the final step is to convert. And that is basically a planned psychological attack designed to subvert prejudice by attaching positive feelings to whatever label through sympathetic media portrayals that create a powerful, almost knee-jerk impulse towards acceptance. The theatrics, that's where they come in at the end right there. Just make it so hard for people to say no. That's why you have to have a little bit of truth mixed into all of the lies. That's like the most insidious part of it, is you got to they balance it out.
That's
And then,
COVID, right? That's like the playbook for getting along by going along with the official narrative.
oh,
Yeah.
these steps right here, all of them have the end goal of getting you. Remember, I said training people over all these years to lie to themselves. That's what they're using this method to train. That's what all of this is about. Idolize the hypocrites. Idolize the people who are just basically saying they're doing one thing to the public, but they're really not doing that thing. They are hypocrites, and everybody kind of knows. And so it breeds the cognitive dissonance. So now everybody is now comfortable with it because that's our idols. Our idols are like that. So why wouldn't we lie to ourselves too?
Yeah, that helps explain this ongoing pathology of people being comfortable with the lies and not wanting to challenge the lies. I mean, if they've got mass brainwashing going on, I mean, people aren't going to challenge that. And I mean, for example, Donald Trump is now starting to pull back on the legitimacy of the Second Amendment, and
That's
his
wild.
MAGA followers are willing to go along with that, and or
Wow.
some are anyway. I don't know.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's mass psychogenic illness. It's an
is.
illness.
Yeah.
This self-deception, which is why we're all here. We're here because we're pushing against it. We're
Yes.
rejecting self-deception. We
Yes.
want to know whether the ugly truth, I guess it's ugly. And this is why people don't want to look at things that's ugly. But the truth is the truth. It is what it is. And there are many beautiful things that are truthful, many beautiful things. It's just lost in this Matrix of Mendacity circus show with all these pathological liars, some of whom, pathological means they genuinely believe in their lies, that they actually feel it and they're being sincere, but they're still liars. They're just good liars. And the best Hollywood actors, the best theatrical actors make the best liars because they truly can stretch into a new character and make you believe that that's who they really are, because they kill off their original ego. They have to destroy who they really are, has to be neutralized and put away in order for them to get into their new character development.
That's multiple personality disorder, dissociative identity disorder. It's exactly
that would be like a Academy Award winner.
You have to have the trauma. You have to have the trauma. You have to kill the old self.
Right. And remember, Joanne Woodward got the first star, right? On the Hollywood Hawk for The Three Faces of Eve, which is someone with multiple personalities.
Yeah.
That was the first celebrated star in the Hollywood Walk of Fame, was on the basis of a film entitled The Three Faces of Eve, a multiple personality person, a mother and a wife. I mean, that's a sign and symbol.
Yeah, but I
that's the story of tonight's video.
It's probably a well-deserved star, because imagine if you're actually a person who has multiple personality disorder, and then you have to go and you have to play as a role, you have to play somebody who has multiple. So it's like a mirror in a mirror in a mirror,
Well, I look at it as more of a tutorial.
Yeah,
sure. It's not really, I don't know Joanne Woodward, and she had this long marriage with Paul Newman, and I don't know Paul Newman. Sure. I can tell you that Abigail Folger knew them. She knew both of them. Abigail Folger spent time with Paul Newman and Joanne Woodward, and probably for work. They must have been put together for work. But the thing is that Joanne Woodward, I always liked her. I don't know if she has multiple personalities, but she does have a star in Hollywood, and her film, she won an Academy Award, Best Actress, for Three Faces of Eve.
Well, I met her. She was on the board of Sarah Lawrence. I was on the board of Sarah Lawrence at the same time. And the thing about famous stars is they never introduce themselves. You say, "Hi, I'm Jennifer Small." They don't say, "Oh, hi, I'm Joanne Woodward." They know that you know who they are. And she was she was perfectly sane, and I mean, she didn't have schizoid personality or anything like that. She was a nice woman. She was a nice woman.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that was kind of the knock on Nick Reiner, that over at Conan O'Brien's Christmas party, was apparently he was annoying the guests there at the party. Who knows if this is true, but the story was that Nick would go and talk with the guests, and they would introduce themselves, and then Nick would say, "Now, who are you again? And what are you important? Are you an important person?" And because I have no idea who you are, right? And so you can imagine if you said that to Joanne Woodward, "Now you are who and how? Are you on the board? Or are you just visiting? Are you in town? Do you live here? Did you go to school?" And so then it's sort of an insult. Like, what do you mean you don't know who I am?
Yeah.
Like, Nick was annoying people because he didn't know anyone at the party. And you're supposed to know everyone. Your father's, Rob Reiner, he knows who killed Jack Kennedy. Didn't you get that memo?
Mm.
No, I didn't get that memo. So anyway, what about you, Chattahoochee? What do you think of this show, the circus clown show?
Yeah, that's what it is because there's so many things to take in here, but I definitely agree with you, Rose, about people like Billy Graham. He was a member of the Brotherhood of Freemason, and
Yeah.
he portrays as one thing for television, and then he's one thing in real life. And that could be said for Joe Rogan, anybody, Alex Jones especially,
Yeah, Bill Hicks. Who knows if Paul
Jim
McCartney
Morrison.
is really Billy Shears or if Alex Jones is Bill Hicks, who worked closely with Sam Kinison. Bill Hicks and Sam Kinison worked in Houston, Texas, at a comedy club for years, for several years, and then they borrowed each other's jokes too. They borrowed each other's jokes, and which all comedians do that. It's not unusual to steal people's material. That's pretty standard. But is Bill Hicks Alex Jones? I mean, the timing is, yeah, it looks like one disappeared when one appeared. So it could be that Alex Jones is Bill Hicks, who is a comedian who is perfectly suited to do theatrical television podcast shows where you promulgate conspiracy theories. On the Juxtaposition show, I never promulgate any conspiracy theory whatsoever. I promulgate military plots that are secret and meet the definition of conspiracy. But mainly, I'm promoting what is really going on in real life, which is military planning, anthropology, eugenics, Gladio murder, which is clandestine, which operates in the shadows between the lines of gray and black. So I don't get into theories. I get into like real, actual murder, homicide, in the way that Inspector Clouseau did, in the way of Lieutenant Colombo did, in the way of Nancy Drew, in the way of Joe and Frank Hardy did. That's what I'm about. But it appears that the metasphere is cloaked with pathological liars, frauds, influencers, many with PhDs, many who are comedians who have stand-up training, but have gone on to be talk show hosts, and phony fake politicians and phony fake men of God with amusement parks with roller coaster rides and coffee cup sales for their prayer members. PTL, right? Praise the Lord, PTL Club. You send in $100 and I'll send you a coffee cup. Hey, I should do that at Juxtaposition. I should sell $200 coffee cups. If I was more enterprising, I'd be like Jimmy and Tammy Faye Baker. You know what Church Lady used to say about people like that is, you really love yourself, don't you? Somebody really loves themselves. Don't we, Jimmy Schwaggart? I have sinned, Church Lady. Okay, I think that's enough. Move along now. Move along. Let's get Donald Trump out, right? You see the Church Lady drill into Donald Trump? She even had her niece handle him. Her little niece who's in the church camp for the last 12 years. All right, Josh, what are your thoughts at this juncture? We're wrapping up now. We only got a few more minutes.
It's the reason that all of this inversion is going on is because they really do believe with all their heart that if they make everybody insane, then they will then be the normal ones. But at the end of the day, what it really is that misery loves company. They are deluding themselves and trying to bring us into the meta dead world of delusions. It's all one and the same thing. And so I don't know. I mean, the truth does make you free. It permanently makes you free because it's can't go back, can't turn around. You can't unknow what you know, and so then you're free from it.
Yeah,
But
no
you're
one on
not
this
immune.
channel is going to forget. Remember to forget. We're not going to remember to forget. You're not going to unsee anything. Final comments from you, Rose. Then we're going to go to Jennifer to sum up tonight's video, and then we'll go to the lobby for our libations and our hors d'oeuvres.
Yeah, no, I mean, you have so many characters and people from different walks of life, and it's really phenomenal how um, pervasive the pathological liars are influencing us, and how difficult. I mean, you really have to want to know the truth, and it takes effort. It's easier to sit back and just kind of accept and let it fa- um fall off your shoulders there. So I don't know. I mean, it's everywhere. It really is everywhere. And I'm really grateful for the work that you're doing. And it's nice to be with people that are open to the truth.
Well, thank you, Rose. Thank you very much. Sometimes I feel like, that Nancy Pelosi is the Wicked Witch of the West, or Rand Paul is the Wicked Witch of the East, or it's Ron DeSantis. Hard for me to keep track. There's just so many of them there. Of course, we got, Trumpster. They all like to cloak themselves. Even Ronald Reagan cloaked themselves with this idiotic flag. Here's Arnold Schwarzenegger on steroids cloaking himself in a flag. And Condoleezza Rice, she did it. She's a fellow of the Hoover Institute. Here's Henry Kissinger. He's a fellow in the Hoover Institute. Here's Victor Davis Hanson. He's a fellow in the Institute, Hoover Institute. So, in the end, they just want to milk us like cows.
Mhm.
And they call it, human kinetic energy harvesting. Human kinetic energy harvesting.
Mm.
This is your World Economic Forum, their phony fake flags. And we're going to end with here's forgot her name, the presenter in London,
Jill
who
something.
Jill
Jill.
Dudna or Dowdna or Dudna.
No, Jill Brand. I don't know.
Yeah, Jill, whatever.
She had the checkerboard front stoop.
The Masonic checkerboard front stoop. There's a certain picture I want to put up for Jennifer to sum up her soliloquy comments, and then we'll go to have our beverages. Okay, this is kind of happier during happier days with our bottle of wine and our baguette and our Paris Eiffel Tower. All right, the floor is yours, Jennifer.
That you like to end on a positive note. That's definitely a positive note. We've escaped the shadows of Paris, and now we're in the sunlight of Paris. That makes me happy. I just think that was a real tour de force tonight, Juxtaposition. I mean, all those names, and I mean, you really got it. I mean, and I think Josh, his video of that creepy guy going through the Super Bowl, to me, that gives me a little bit of hope, because that shows that there are voices and visionaries out there that are getting through a little bit here, a little bit there, that are willing to call it out. Because in that video, that character is calling out the fakeness and the falsities. So I don't know. I think we've got two opposing forces. We've got all the liars and then the people. Well, no, these are not opposing. I was going to say liars, people willing to believe the lies.
It's going to be a wild year.
But they're on the same side. So I'd like to think that there are a house of cards that one by one, if you could start to pull, show some, for me, it was the whole Paul McCartney thing that opened up. But there's so many other lies, whether it's the chemtrails or it's 9/11 or the moon or anything, or the Manson story. If we could just get some of these big cornerstones out, that everything else possibly could come crumbling down. And so I'd like to just hope that we can keep the faith and keep going and keep chipping away.
Well, thank you, Jennifer. Well said. Yeah, we're going to do a demo. We're going to do a demolition of the Matrix. We're going to demo the Matrix of Mendacity and rebuild a beautiful dog park and running areas. We have a big dog park and a little dog park. That's okay. I understand the little dog. My dog was kind of a little dog, but he really thought he was a Saint Bernard or a Newfoundland, and he's
Mm.
not. He was 25 pounds. Like, no, you're a little dog. But he thought he was like Napoleon or something. So I let him go in the big dog part, and he got himself in trouble because the other dog was way bigger than him. He was like right there with him, and it's like
Yeah.
that dog is 100 pounds. And so I do sometimes. It's better to have the little dogs on one park and the big ones at the other park. And if you have a Martin Shoeshine, then it can go either way. But you have a choice, and I think we should have a choice at dog parks. And I can't think of a better place to put a dog park than on the University of California, Berkeley campus, and MIT, and Noam Chomsky's Tombstone, and Harvard, and Princeton, and Yale should just be bulldozed, demoed, and put something useful in there, like picnicking areas, dog parks, music festivals. I have nothing problem with live music. It could play alongside the dogs playing, and the dogs can listen and play, and that would be a better world than the one that we have now.
Yeah. It
Okay,
sounds
good night,
good.
everybody, and
Good
we'll
night.
see you out in the lobby for some champagne that Michael Brooks flew in from Brooklyn.